A colossal squid's eye is the size of a dinner plate. Down there, in the crushing darkness 2 miles below the surface, something about the deep sea turns ordinary creatures into nightmare fuel. A spider crab with legs spanning 12 feet. Isopods the size of footballs that look like they crawled out of a sci-fi movie. So what is it about the deep ocean that makes everything grow so absurdly, unnaturally large? Stick around, because the answer is way weirder than you think. The deep sea starts where sunlight gives up, around 200 meters down, roughly 650 feet. The last photons from the surface finally tap out. Below that, midnight. Always. And it gets worse. By the time you hit 1,000 meters, the pressure is crushing. We're talking 100 times atmospheric pressure at sea level. That's like having a fully grown elephant standing on your thumbnail. Except it's everywhere, all at once, squeezing you from every direction. The temperature, hovering just above freezing, between 2 and 4 degrees Celsius, or about 35 to 39 degrees Fahrenheit. Cold enough that your body heat would be gone in minutes. Food is practically non-existent. Oxygen levels are low. And yet, life doesn't just survive down there. It thrives. It grows massive. Scientists call this phenomenon deep-sea gigantism. And before you think it's just a quirky ocean fact, this is one of the most debated mysteries in marine biology. Because here's the thing. Everything we know about biology suggests creatures in harsh environments should be smaller, not larger. Limited food means limited energy. Limited energy means smaller bodies. It's basic survival math. But the deep sea didn't get the memo. Let's start with the star of the show, the giant isopod. If you've never seen one, imagine a pill bug. You know, those little gray bugs that curl into a ball when you poke them, got angry and grew to the size of a chihuahua. That's Bathynomus giganteus. These things can reach 16 inches long and weigh over 3 pounds. Their closest surface relatives, those tiny pill bugs in your garden that weigh less than a paperclip. Same family, wildly different size. Why? For decades, scientists pointed to something called Bergmann's rule. It's an old idea from the 1840s that says animals in colder climates tend to be larger than their warm climate cousins. The logic seems sound. Bigger bodies retain heat better because they have less surface area relative to their volume. Think polar bears versus sun bears, moose versus deer. The pattern holds pretty well on land. So naturally, scientists thought, aha, the deep sea is cold. Mystery solved. Next question. Except there's a problem, a big one. Bergmann's rule is about warm-blooded animals, mammals, birds, creatures that generate their own heat. But deep-sea giants? They're cold-blooded. Invertebrates, crustaceans, squid. They don't generate heat. Their body temperature matches the water around them. So why would they need to retain heat they don't even produce? Bergmann's rule doesn't work here. Back to square one. Then came another theory. Maybe it's about oxygen. This one's called the oxygen temperature hypothesis. And it actually makes a lot of sense. Cold water holds more dissolved oxygen than warm water. You can test this yourself. Pour a cold soda and a warm soda side by side. The cold one fizzes more because it holds more gas. Same principle with seawater. The deep ocean is cold, which means it's packed with oxygen, relatively speaking. Larger animals need more oxygen, which means they're more efficient at using that oxygen in an oxygen-rich environment. Being big isn't a disadvantage. It might even be an advantage. This theory held water for a while, until scientists found giant creatures in low oxygen zones too. Whoops! So what's actually going on down there? The answer, like most things in nature, is complicated. And it starts with food, or rather the lack of it. Imagine you're a creature living 2 miles below the surface. Sunlight doesn't reach you, so there's no photosynthesis, no plants, no algae. The entire food chain depends on one thing: leftovers. Specifically, marine snow. That's the term for the constant shower of dead stuff drifting down from the surface. Dead plankton, fish poop, decaying jellyfish, whale carcasses. It's a slow-motion blizzard of organic debris, and it's basically the only grocery store in town. By the time this stuff reaches the deep sea, most of it's been eaten on the way down. The deeper you go, the less food there is. We're talking about an environment where a single meal might be the only thing you get for months, maybe even a year. So how do you survive when food is this scarce? You get really everything. Your metabolism, your movement, your growth. Deep-sea creatures live life in the slowest lane possible. The giant isopod can go 5 years without eating. You read that right. They've been observed in captivity refusing food for over 1,800 days, and then casually waking up like nothing happened. Their metabolism is so slow they barely need energy to survive. And when they do eat, they gorge. Absolutely stuff themselves until they can barely move. Because who knows when the next meal is coming? This is where gigantism starts to make sense. A larger body is actually more efficient in a low-food environment. Bigger animals have slower metabolisms per unit of body mass. They burn energy more slowly. They can store more fat. They can last longer between meals. Being big isn't about being strong or fast. It's about being patient. And patience is a survival skill down there. Let's talk about the Japanese spider crab for a second. Macrochera campheri. Leg span up to 12 feet. Weight up to 40 pounds. The largest arthropod on Earth. These things look like they walked straight out of a HP. Lovecraft fever dream. Long, spindly legs. A body covered in spines. Eyes on stalks. They move slowly across the ocean floor like underwater skeletons, picking at scraps. Why so big? Turns out those long legs are a massive advantage in the deep sea. Longer legs mean you can cover more ground without burning much energy. You're essentially a living net, filtering through more territory, encountering more food. You don't have to be fast. You just have to be thorough. And with a 12-foot leg span, you're covering a lot of real estate. But there's more going on here. Something even weirder. Pressure isn't just intense. It's biologically significant. The pressure is so extreme, it affects how proteins fold, how cells function, how enzymes work. Organisms down there have had to evolve special adaptations just to keep their cells from getting squished into oblivion. One of those adaptations? Cell size. Deep-sea creatures often have larger cells than their shallow water relatives. Bigger cells mean fewer cells are needed to build the same body. And here's the kicker. Larger cells might actually be more resistant to pressure. They're structurally more stable. So in a high-pressure environment, going big at the cellular level might be necessary. And if your cells are bigger, your whole body might end up bigger too. This is speculative, sure, but it's one of the leading theories right now, and it's backed up by some compelling evidence. Take the giant tube worms that live near hydrothermal vents. Riftia pachyptila. These things can grow up to 8 feet long and as thick as your arm. They don't have mouths. They don't have stomachs. They survive entirely through a symbiotic relationship with bacteria living inside them. The bacteria convert chemicals from the vent into energy. And the worms just sit there, growing for decades. Why so big? Partly because they live in a nutrient-rich environment compared to the rest of the deep sea. Those vents pump out chemicals like hydrogen sulfide, and the bacteria feast, but also because their body structure is optimized for that environment. Large, simple, efficient, no wasted energy on complex systems. Just grow, host bacteria, repeat. And that's important. For every colossal squid, there are thousands of tiny, normal-sized creatures. Gigantism is selective. It happens in specific lineages under specific conditions, and figuring out why some species go giant while others don't is part of the puzzle. One factor is longevity. Deep-sea creatures live a long time, really long. The Greenland shark can live over 400 years. Some deep-sea clams live for centuries. When you live that long, and you grow slowly, you just keep getting bigger. There's no rush. No predators forcing you to stay small and agile. No competition driving rapid reproduction. Just slow, steady growth over an absurdly long lifespan. And it's gaining traction. If you're going to live for 300 years anyway, why not spend that time getting massive? Let's get back to the colossal squid for a second. Messinicotu, this Hamiltoni. The largest invertebrate on the planet. We've only ever found a handful of specimens, most of them dead or dying, washed up on beaches or caught in fishing nets. But based on those specimens, scientists estimate these things can grow up to 46 feet long and weigh over 1,000 pounds. Their eyes are the largest in the animal kingdom, up to 11 inches in diameter. That's bigger than a basketball. Why eyes that big? Even the tiniest bit of light matters. Bioluminescence is everywhere down there. Jellyfish glow. Bacteria glow. Fish have light organs. And if you can see that glow from farther away, you have a massive advantage. You can spot prey. Avoid predators. But here's where it gets wild. The colossal squid's main predator, the sperm whale, an animal that dives to depths of 7,000 feet, holds its breath for 90 minutes, and hunts in total darkness using echolocation. Sperm whales have been found with colossal squid beaks in their stomachs. And scars. Circular scars from the squid's sucker-covered tentacles. This is a battle that happens in a world we can barely imagine, miles below the surface. In freezing cold, in crushing pressure, in total darkness, two giants locked in a fight for survival. And the squid is big because it has to be. You don't fight a 40-ton whale unless you have some serious size backing you up. Now here's something most people don't realize. The deep sea isn't just one environment. It's a gradient. Conditions change with depth. It's most common in the basipelagic zone, between 1,000 and 4,000 meters. That's where food is scarce. Pressure is intense, but oxygen is still present. Go deeper into the abyssal and hadal zones, and gigantism actually decreases. The trenches aren't full of giants. They're full of small, specialized creatures adapted to even more extreme conditions. So gigantism is a sweet spot phenomenon. It happens where conditions are harsh enough to favor slow metabolism and large bodies, but not so extreme that life itself becomes impossible. In the deep sea, finding a mate is hard. Really hard. Population densities are incredibly low. You might swim for miles without encountering another member of your species. So when you do find a mate, you better make it count. Larger bodies mean more eggs, more offspring, better chances of passing on your genes. Some deep-sea fish have taken this to an extreme. Anglerfish, for example, the females are massive compared to the males. When a male finds a female, he latches onto her body, fuses with her and becomes a permanent parasite, providing sperm whenever she needs it. She gets a guaranteed mate. He gets guaranteed food and survival. You can afford to wait longer. The gulper eel is a perfect example. Uropharynx pelicanoides. Mouth larger than its entire body. It swims through the darkness with its jaws wide open, hoping something swims in. When food is this scarce, you optimize for volume, not speed. And a big mouth on a big body catches more food. But let's be real, we're still guessing about a lot of this. We've explored less than 5% of the ocean floor. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the deep sea. Every time scientists send down a submersible, they find something new, something strange, something that shouldn't exist according to our models. In 2023, researchers found a new species of giant amphipod in the Atacama Trench, 7 inches long. For context, most amphipods are smaller than your fingernail. This thing was the size of a burrito. And it was living at depths where scientists thought gigantism wouldn't occur. So clearly, we're missing something. Maybe multiple somethings. One emerging theory involves the microbiome, the bacteria living inside these creatures. Deep-sea animals have unique gut bacteria that help them digest food more efficiently. These bacteria might be breaking down compounds that other organisms can't process. They might be synthesizing nutrients. They might be doing things we haven't even discovered yet. And if these bacteria are giving deep-sea creatures an energetic advantage, that could explain how they afford to grow so large despite limited food. We're also learning that the deep sea isn't as isolated as we thought. Whale falls. The carcasses of dead whales that sink to the ocean floor create temporary ecosystems that can last for decades. A single whale carcass can sustain thousands of organisms. It's like a 5-star restaurant opening in a food desert. And creatures that can take advantage of these bonanzas, that can gorge themselves and store energy, they're the ones that can afford to grow large. There's a broader lesson here. Gigantism in the deep sea is a response to extreme scarcity. When resources are scarce, you don't compete through speed or aggression. You compete through efficiency, through patience, through being able to outlast everyone else. And sometimes, being big is the most efficient strategy. The deep sea has shaped life in ways the surface world never could. It's a laboratory of evolutionary experimentation, a place where the normal rules don't apply, where pressure creates new possibilities. where darkness isn't an obstacle but an opportunity, where size isn't about dominance but endurance, and we're just starting to understand it. Every expedition brings back new species, new adaptations, new questions. The colossal squid might not even be the largest thing down there. There could be creatures we haven't found yet. Larger, stranger, more impossible. The deep sea is still hiding its secrets. And some of those secrets are absolutely massive. So next time you're swimming in the ocean, standing on a beach, looking out at the horizon, remember this. Beneath those waves miles below where sunlight reaches, there's an alien world. A world where the laws of biology bend, where creatures grow to sizes that shouldn't be possible, where evolution has written rules. We're still trying to read. The deep sea doesn't make sense. Not yet. But that's what makes it so fascinating. We're not just exploring another part of Earth. We're exploring another way of being alive. And some of those ways involve growing really stupidly, unnaturally large. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the weird world of ocean giants, hit that subscribe button. There's a lot more where this came from. And if you've got questions about other bizarre ocean phenomena, drop them in the comments. Who knows? Your question might be the next video.